So welcome to the Introduction to Git course. And first, there is a Git repository for the course. And it is this here. And the only thing you really need here are the Git materials. You can get them with wget, or you can clone the whole repository. I will show you something about this in a very short time. But the material for this year has been moved to GitHub as rendered pages there instead of on HackMD. So hopefully everything looks as it should. So the course, the idea here is to give you a somewhat brief but comprehensive introduction to Git, mostly from the command line, but also from GitHub. And we will look at basic commands, basic concepts of Git, the commit tree, branches, and remote repositories, and you will do Git in teamwork also. And right now the plan is to give the course every fall. At the very least, it will be given every year. I don't know if it will change, so it's spring or fall, but we will see. This is given under NAISS, the National Academic Infrastructure for Sweden, and it's given as a cooperation between trainers from HPC2N and UPPMAX, and this year also Chalmers. And it's open for anyone in Swedish academia. You can use your own computer, or you can use any existing computer access you have. You only really need something that can run Git, and or which you can install Git on. So I mean that could be any Linux, any Mac. You can also install it on Windows. You can use it at an HPC center where you have access. If none of those works, if you can't install it, then there was Tetralit, and I have talked to a few of you about this. So prerequisites. Very, very limited knowledge about Linux, mainly just being able to change between directories and see files. And a GitHub account. If you haven't created one, you can create one for the course. It's free. There's a link here. And then some not too old version of Git installed on your system. And I think anything that is already installed at the clusters should just be fine. I already talked about Zoom, and since you're here, you have the link. There's this Q&A document. We talked about this. It's this one here. Scroll down. There's a place where it says placeholder. Just type your question there. And one of those who are not at that point lecturing will look at it. There's an important info document. It has various information gathered. It's basically what was in the letter and a few other things. The recordings, when they are done, will be uploaded to HPC2N's YouTube channel. And there is also an evaluation because we are continuously developing the course. And it is here, but we will talk about that on Friday, or otherwise you will get a link in an email when I also send an email about the recordings being done. So the preliminary schedule for today, Monday, we had the optional installation help. There is this intro. Then we will look at the setup, and in that you will configure your Git if you haven't already. Then we'll go to buy to use version management. There will be a break. And then Pedro will talk about basic commands in the rest of the day. of this course, and there's a break in between. Then tomorrow I will talk about basic concepts of Git, and after I've done that, Diana will take over and talk about traversing the commit tree, and she will continue talking about that on Wednesday. And after that, she will go to branches, which will continue Thursday. And then there will be a brief intro to how to get the SSH keys to work on GitHub if you haven't already. And then we will go to work with remotes, which is Pedro. And then on Friday, I will give a short lecture about how to do teamwork with Git. And then we will do a lot of exercises on Friday where you will work in groups. And that's the course. So it's Monday, so it's time for the intro to Git. So this course is an introduction to version control, but there will be a very strong focus on Git. And these are the instructors, as mentioned. And there's a mixture of lectures and hands-ons. It will be split into modules, and it's 5 half days, as you know. Most of these modules have hands-ons, particularly the later ones. The basic commands and concepts. I think all of them have, except for the motivation about why to use version management. So this is just an overview of the course. And I guess you can read this on your own. It doesn't, I mean, we will go through it slowly today. We will look at create and clone repositories, add files, commit files, simply basic commands of Git. And after that, you should be able to at least set up a simple Git repository and add files to it, and also clone a repository and push to it. So, okay, so let's go to setup. And the only thing I'm going to focus on the setup here is to configure Git. I'm going to assume that you have installed and set up Git. We will use it from the command line, as I said. Graphical tools exist, and you can use them, but you shouldn't for this course because the idea is to learn how it works a little bit behind the scenes, and you can do that better from the command line. So if you haven't already installed Git, please do so. There's descriptions here for how to do it for all of the major operating systems. Most of you will already have it installed. So let's go to configure. First, let's check if we have Git installed. And I'm going to do that here, Git version. On my own machine, I have it. Let's see on this other one. This is Kebnekaise. I have just logged in just for some comparison. There is also a version of Git there. It's rather old, but it's fine. Now we can configure Git, and we are going to do that with git config. And we should set the global name and email. That is something that will be included in the commits for Git. So you can see that it's simply required by Git so that you can see who made commits if you have a repository you're sharing with someone. So you should copy this here. And note that you should not copy the first $sign here. This is a representative of the prompt. It's just to show that it's done on the prompt. So I copy this part here. And then I would put my name here. And then I will do the same thing to set up my email. You will see that if you don't do this, it will complain. You should also set the editor if you haven't already. It might be default set, but it's a good idea to set an editor. And if you're on Linux, which you will be if you're on any of the HPC centers, you can set Nano, which probably is the easiest, or you can set Vim. I will check if I actually have these set at, I probably haven't, so I'm going to set them here at Kebnekaise as well, like this. And then I'm also going to set the editor. So git config --global, and these needs to be set at any place you are going to use Git. So if you only use it from your own machine, then you just set it there. If you're using it from several places, you have to set it all those places. So now I'm setting it to Nano at Kebnekaise. You can use Notepad on Windows with this command if you are using Git on Windows. If you're logging into a Linux system from Windows, then you still set a Linux editor. And there is documentation on choosing and setting editors for various OSs at this place here. But most likely you will be using a Linux system. So now we have set this up here. We are going to test that things work. So I'm going to create a directory and I will just call it my test kit. And I actually called it that last time I did it and forgot that I hadn't removed it. I'm going to remove it. And then I'm going to go into this directory. So you can see there is nothing here. I'm going to create a file. If you're at another system, OS, create a file as you would there. But I'm just creating a file because I need something to test that this is working. I now have a directory with one file in it and nothing else. So I'm going to do git init. And this all here is just a thing you can ignore. It's just telling you that it's using master as the name, and that is the default branch name. It depends on the version of Git, I guess. GitHub will use main, and we will look at it when we come to that. But in this case, it doesn't really matter. You can change it with git config global init default branch and say it should be main instead. You can also change the name of this branch with this command here if you want it to be called main instead. It doesn't matter, master or main, it works the same way. It's just different versions of Git. So I'm just going to leave it as is. But you could see it initialized an empty Git repository and then the path to it. And there is actually now a directory under it that's called .git, and we will look at that later. Tomorrow, most likely. So now I'm going to test that I can add something to my repository. I had the file test.txt. We will talk more about this later. This is just a test that it works. So just write these commands. And as you can see here, it's now opening a editor. So I will say I'm adding a test file. And it succeeded. Master is this branch here, and it says I committed, and this is the commit hash, which we will talk a lot more about when we come to traversing the commit tree. And then we say we added a test file. And I can also do git log just to see that all is as it should be. It is. This is the full hash. You can see here. You can also address it by just the first part of it. And the head of the git head pointer is pointing to master, to the tip here, to this branch. And the author, that is what you put when you did the git config name, and then the email address, and then also that I did this today and the time. And this is the commit message I wrote. It's important to write good messages so that you can use git log to go through it and see which one it was you used to add this new feature if you want to go back in it. Okay, if this looks like this at your machine, with your name of course, then you have configured Git correctly and it works. So now it is time to download the course materials. And you can do that in one of two ways. You can either clone the whole repo, this here, and you can always get the repo to clone by clicking code and picking HTTPS. It's important you pick that one because the SSH one will only work if you have access to the repository, if you have been added as a member, so you can push to it. If you're just cloning a repository online that you're not a member of, then you always pick HTTPS. And you can copy it here and then git clone. You can also download that one zip file directly with the wget and here. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to do it both ways so that we will see that it works. I am going to create a directory. I will see if I have one git intro. And I'm going to go into that. And there I'm going to clone this repository. So you can see how that looks. It will take a little while. So meanwhile, I will download the zip file here. I'm just creating a directory to work in. It's not necessary because it will actually create one for you, but it makes it easier. You can see here, if you clone the repository, the directory you will work in will end up being called course intro git. If you instead download the zip file, let's try do this here. Then you will get a file main.zip, and I am unzipping it. And it should give me a directory that's called almost the same, except it's also minus main at the end. So if you get it with git clone, you get this directory. If you get it with wget, you will get this directory. It doesn't matter. This is the one we are talking about later when we talk about the directory where there are exercises in. Under this, there is this this git materials zip, and I'm going to unzip it. And you can see I got a directory, Git materials. Under that are all the exercises in their own directories. They are also online here, but there are some of them that has files that are needed. So you need to do this either clone or wget. And with wget, you got the whole stuff here. And you again need to unzip Git materials. And the exact same directories under here. Okay. Web-based Git repositories. There are several. These are some of the more popular ones. Several more. We're going to work on GitHub for the hands-on. We're working together in groups and also for the remote repo ones. If you have not signed up for an account at GitHub, please do so. So you will go here. I already have an account, but I could just show you. So go here and click sign up. And then you can either just use your Google credentials or you can create an account here. It's free and you will need it for the course. So if you haven't, then sign up for it. You don't need to do it today, but you need it before we get to Thursday, I believe. I'm not going to go through creating SSH keys for GitHub now. I will do that on Thursday, I believe. Let's see how it looks on time. I just want to see the schedule. We are almost exactly on time, so let's go on to